not sure if there's going to be enough for everybody. That camera is pointed right at my crotch.
No, it's not. I'm watching the thing, all right? I'm not gonna send this to your mom if it's just crotch shots. Okay, it'll be fine. It'll be okay.
All right. So let's pass those around. Yeah, there probably won't be enough. I thought there would be less people, but you.
All right. Well, Daniel and I can share.
Yes.
All right.
Alright, but yeah, so this is called Percussive Poetics, and I'm going to be focusing on different kinds of consonants. There are two major kinds of consonants that are sonorant and obstruent. But sonorant consonants are more, they resonate like vowels more, so I'm focusing on obstruent consonants because they're more percussive in nature. I'll just wait until things get around. Okay, so obstruent consonants are formed by obstructing airflow and to produce more of a turbulent sound of popping. So it's sort of like you're having the air in your throat and sort of stopping it to produce that kind of sound. And the types of obstruent consonants are plosive. And the good thing about all of these names are that they sort of reflect what they do. So plosive is more of a popping sound. It's suddenly releasing air. And there's a few examples of that, like burst or explode. Gutturals are harsher sounds from like in your throat. Dentals are formed by placing your tongue on the back of your teeth and have like a sort of that sound, so think and bitter. Fricatives, friction. So you're producing friction for the air coming out of your mouth through like your lips and your teeth. And sibilants, which are the most common kind of obstruent consonant, and they're more like S sounds, and that can be a softer sound or like a hissing sound. And applying this to percussion, you can think of plosive sounds as the snapping of like a snare drum, so popping sort of thing. And then you have like a dental and a sibilant sound, so it's against your teeth, and so it's sort of like a hi-hat opening and closing. And then a dental and a guttural sound, that tap with the deeper sound is sort of like a floor tom in a traditional like 5-piece kit. And a sibilant and plosive sound, the softness of a sibilant sound is sort of like a brush in jazz when you pop it on a snare drum. And sort of the reason that I focus on sound in poetry is because sound is sort of like the auditory element of poetry is the first layer that you can process when you're hearing a poem before you really comprehend what the word is. You're hearing the sound, so in that way sound is like the penetrative force, and it's introducing some emotional charge to the listener, which is made concrete by comprehending the word. And then I supplement that with like the emotional evocation from the sound with vivid imagery and attempt to create like a full sensory experience. Alright. So the first one I'm going to read is called Buttons. I need a needle to sew a button back on my fur coat. It's been hanging open, exposing unkemmed skin. Seems the floorboards sucked my spares through their cracks, down to cobweb bowels between my floor and another ceiling. Buttons misplaced as well, not a shard to be found. Barren drawers, vacant boxes, but here's one hidden under my thumbnail. A single button with 2 perfect circular holes, an eye and a mouth molded in plastic. Darling button, could your punctured holes wriggle, flex out of circumference to fill my ears with song? Can you maneuver the absences, or is there only function to be filled, points of binding, serving the garment as a whole? Thread ripping out through the mouth, rising then arching back to penetrate the eye, button shackled to fabric. I have no needle, no thread. You remain detached, plastic scrap without purpose, circular silence staring from the folds of my palm. With a kiss, the saliva may service as glue, fastening you not to fabric, but to my skin. A pendant for my sternum, drawing the eye to where my body could split symmetrically. Punctuation for the sliver of skin exposed by my open coat. Stick, won't you please? Stay to appease aesthetics, if nothing else. Free motion of your mouth and eye, if nothing else. warmth from my skin, and a promise not to cringe if your plastic provides me with only a false sense of binding and nothing else. I need a needle to sew you button, a needle and steady hands. Okay, I'm just going to draw your attention to the third stanza. And in the third stanza, there is emotional turn for the narrator. And I show this by using plosive and fricative sounds like barren drawers, vacant boxes. They're harsher sounds to sort of reflect the anxiety and the sense of loss in the narrator. And then the turn is into the sibilant sounds. The here's one hidden, single button, perfect, circular. It's sort of a calming, and it's reflecting how the narrator calms down with the discovery of this button, which is sort of a symbol of stability and like containment. The next one I have is dandelions. There are those who do not reach for the ghost fiber dandelions, who chug down the alphabet too quickly, spewing it across the coarse sidewalk for canine tongues to lap up. Those who never glaze glass with hurried breath to plow pictures through the water beads with jelly-smudged fingertips. Day to day, they collect estranged embraces to stick below the sink, mingle among orange grit pipes and cockroaches playing poker to pass the time. They order custom caskets, pinch the velvet interior to make sure the fabric won't irritate their skin. But then, there are those who do not reach for the ghost fiber dandelions because the cacophony encapsulated behind their aching faces drowns out any particular wish. And here, the sounds I'm going to focus on is the first stanza, where the first two lines, sort of the centerpiece of those first two lines is the long O sound. So like those and ghost, and I think of the word those with that dental and the sibilant sound with the ch, that's like a hi-hat, and then the ghost is the guttural and the sibilant, so it's sort of a deeper, and ghost sort of introduces more guttural sounds that I use like chug and tongue, and I have spewing, which is a sibilant and a plosive sound, and that is done sort of to signal and show like the clumsiness and the bumbling nature of this kind of person that I'm describing in the stanza. And my last poem, it's called Bulbous Eyes Craning to Inhale My Face Through Iron Bars, and it is the poem with the longest title that I have ever written. But it is some modest enough to whisper, others blare their scoffs and growls over the heads of the crowd, inviting all to hurl their laughter, let it glob onto my feathers until I'm pasted to the piss-stained floor. Born with a beak nose, jawless, web-toed, abandoned and scooped up to be swaddled inside the red-striped tent. When I grew, I was presented with feathers. Their colors surged shivers through my bones, dazzling, hues at home only in a jungle. Then the plastic tips were melted, thrust into my skin by the only parent I've ever known, maestro of the traveling freak show. Cage by day, train car by night, surrounded by iron, cedar chips, and eyes, gawking glares of circus goers or the stars, eyes of gods, peering through the cracked ceiling of the train car. During the show, I am thankful for the bars, keeping out cotton candy sticky fingers, blocking projectile popcorn buckets, glass bottles clanking loud enough to twitch my ears to onlookers' delight. On cloudless nights, wheels rattling beneath me, I reject my lone wool blanket, letting the speckled light caress my skin. Master does not feed me often because he knows if I gain enough strength, I'll peck past the rotting wood, fly up and into the burning eyes to sear all traces of humanity off this pale body, then sit among my fellow gods, stare down, and laugh. That is it for my segment. So, thank you.
Oh boy, how do I stop this? Oh, I want to hit a button. Oh no, it says that button. What does SH mean? Where the fuck is that?